Jump pack intercessors act as elite shock infantry equipped with fast-moving jump packs that are used by the Space Marines. Some of you may be surprised that I'm making this style of video again, but I'll explain more at the end, so make sure to stick around for that. Let's get into covering the rules for the Jump Pack Intercessors, a classic unit reimagined just now in 10th edition. So, the Jump Pack Intercessors come in at 90 points for 5 or 160 for 10, so slightly cheaper once you make the unit bigger. They move 12 inches, they're toughness 4 with a 3+ save, 2 wounds, leadership 6+, and OC 1. Standard Marine stats, but faster. In terms of ranged weapons, we have a heavy bolt pistol as standard, which is one attack that hits on 3s at 18-inch range, strength 4, AP 1, damage 1. Nothing special, but good for blamming elite light infantry like Eldar. The plasma pistol has 2 modes. At standard, it's one attack that hits on 3s at 12-inch range with strength 7, AP 2, and damage 1. If you overcharge it, it gains hazardous, but it does go up to strength 8, AP 3, and damage 2. You can get up to 3 of those in the unit, which is a nice little flurry to maybe blow away a Space Marine or 2. The Hand Flamer has Torrent and ignores cover. It's D6 attacks that auto-hit thanks to Torrent. It's 12-inch range with strength 3, AP 0, and damage 1. So I'd say that's easily the weakest weapon here. It just kind of doesn't have a purpose. Hand Flamers generally like to be masked up to be super effective. In terms of melee weapons, the Power Fist has 3 attacks that hit on 3s at strength 8, AP 2, and damage 2. Nice for smacking a few Space Marines around. The Chainsword has 4 attacks that hit on 3s at strength 4, AP 1, and damage 1. Good for covering up things like enemy guardsmen, and they aren't too bad against most infantry targets in general, except toughness 5 or higher. The power weapon is 4 attacks, hit on 3s, strength 5, AP 2, and damage 1. Hammer of Wrath is their special rule. Each time you end a charge move with this unit, roll 1d6 for each model in this unit, and on each 4+, they suffer a mortal wound. You select the enemy target, of course. Unit of 5 gets 2 to 3, 10 gets 5 to 6, and 11 lets you spikes a little higher. There is no cap, so you can, in theory, get up to 11 mortal wounds. The unit's made up of 1 sergeant, and then 4 to 9 jump pack intercessors. They all have bolt pistols and chain swords. They do have grenades and fly. Every 5 models, you can swap in a plasma pistol. The sergeant may take a plasma pistol or hand flamer, and he may swap his chain sword for either a power fist or power weapon. I'd say both are solid options. The power fist is the most general, but power weapon is more useful against 1-1 infantry, so if you fight that a lot, keep that in mind. In terms of buff options, the Captain with Jump Pack does give +1 strength, which is really great against things like orcs and enemy Space Marines. Free strats is really good when you're going for a big damage combo, and his own melee is very exceptional. So he's definitely a great option when you're trying to make this unit more effective. The Chaplain with Jump Pack gives you D3 mortal wounds on the charge, on a 4+, so just more mortal wounds. Means that charging into things like Sentinels, they might just kill it on the charge before they even make their melee attacks. +1 to wound is exceptional, of course. It makes them far more effective against everything. Kayvon gives them Lone Op, which is just horrific, especially against armies like Tau. And he allows them to jump on and off the board, which is one of the nastier rules in the game. It can be very hard for your enemy to do anything about it. He gives +1 OC, which is also very nice to all Jump Pack Intercessors. And he makes the unit very frightening, though they might struggle to punch up if they're not attacking the Oath moment target. And Dante gives you +1 to advance and charge, which is always handy, especially coming out of Deep Strike. +1 to hit is nice, and his axe hits very, very hard. Though again, he is the most expensive one here by a wide, wide margin. All of these have their place, and I think all of them are quite good. That could all work in concert, of course, excluding Kayvon and Dante, because they're from different chapters. In terms of detachments, I'm counting these as the +1 to wound, the codex compliant. Gladius gives you extra AP and lance with on the charge, and with that Honor the Chapter, that's the name. Advance and charge is fantastic as well in the Assault Doctrine. Anvil Siege Force, they don't benefit from much themselves, but could make a good bodyguard unit for your big stationary shooting army, as they can jump to wherever they're needed most. Iron Storm is pretty much the same story, but with tanks. Firestorm gives them extra strength, which is handy for shooting against enemy Marines. Storm Lance gives you advance and charge, which is always exceptional, and the react move stratagem is very handy for these guys if you're using them mainly for utility, which is definitely capable, as they have Deep Strike, of course. Vanguard gives them extra durability, which is nice, though they want to be up in the enemy's face, so it's not the most useful. Still handy for when you're using them as utility and they're off on a far-flung objective. They don't have any veteran stuff, so nothing in First Company, and they have no access to librarians. Even the librarian with Jump Pack Legends datasheet cannot lead them, so nothing there for them, unfortunately, and there's no Inquisitor with Jump Pack. Moving on to detachments, we have the Divergents, of course. Dark Angels, they don't have Deathwing or Ravenwing, still good unit, just nothing that's super specific. Black Templars can give them a Feel No Pain or an Invulnerable save, which are both much appreciated. And any of the melee buffs they can get, especially lethal hits, are just exceptional, so definitely keep that in mind. Blood Angels gives you a Liberator Assault group, which just turns them into cataclysmic damage dealers for certain. One of them killed a Bane Blade of mine the other day. Give them Lance and lethal hits, for example. And they can use the uppy downy rule in Angelic Host, which if you're doing that, they're a cheap unit to do it with. Space Wolves are very similar to Black Templars, so pretty much all the same things that apply there apply here. You know, durability's nice, the melee buffs are nice. It's hard to go wrong in the Champions of Rust detachment. Next up, we have their competition. First up, I'd like to mention Reavers, which may seem a little odd, but they're deep strike cheap units with AP1 melee. They're both very solid, in my opinion, as utility units. And given that Reavers can move over any terrain for free, means they're still very speedy and hard to slow down. The only real difference I can think of is if you want cheaper, you get the Reavers, as they have the same melee but with precision. Strength 4, AP 1, damage 1, 3 attacks apiece, or 4 attacks apiece, sorry. Or if you want to spend a little bit more on the Jump Pack Intercessors to get a Power Fist, which is admittedly quite nice for smacking Space Marines. They're both quite well balanced, I'd say, and both are very good. Inceptors have a Meteoric Descent, which allows them to deep strike within 6, which is definitely nice, but they're way more fragile, unfortunately. However, their shooting damage is really powerful, so they can very easily clear enemies off of objectives, and then take it just in the next time they get to move. With the huge price hike between the two, it means that Inceptors, in my opinion, are ill-suited to be utility units, and past that, they don't really share any similarities, in my opinion. Vanguard Veterans can be pretty darn tough with their 4+ invulnerable saves, and the pistols can definitely be funny, just mass, Inferno pistols, whatever it may be. Though without a Power Fist, they will struggle a bit against multi-wound infantry, that's for sure. Moving on, we have to cover the chapter-specific stuff, which will be Death Company and Sanguinary Guard. Sanguinary Guard have very similar thoughts, in my opinion, to the Death Company. The Death Company, of course, are fully built for melee, and they are very powerful in melee, no doubt, with all the Power Fists and Eviscerators. But again, higher price means for commanders who are looking to save points, Jump Pack Intercessors can do the job very well, and they are significantly cheaper. Sanguinary Guard, very much the same deal. Very focused on being a big damage unit, so not a direct competitor necessarily, though they can both fill similar roles. Skyclaws have just worse melee overall, though they do get to reroll charges for free, which is nice out of Deep Strike. I'd say they maybe balance out a little bit because they get to take 2 special weapons, so you could have 2 plasma guns, for example, which is definitely nice, though probably overall a little worse. Jump Intercessors are a great unit, in my book at least. They're one of those rare units that can be a great utility unit and a great damage unit, just because of their speed and deep strike, and their mortal wounds and everything. They won't be toppling tanks without major investment into them, but if you use like grenades and things like that, they can put out a lot of mortal wounds, for sure. And they make great finishers, executioners, if you will, for enemy units that are just barely hanging on with a few wounds, because you are going to do 2-3 mortal wounds at a minimum with a small unit, which can be useful to finish off something that could do a lot of damage next turn. And against enemies that are, again, like Sentinels, they're very vulnerable to just getting charged and blown up on the mortal wounds alone. And even if you aren't using them as big damage units, they brawl enemy infantry fantastically, and they can deep strike and sweep enemy home objectives with ease. So with that, that wraps up our talk. I'm going to do a bit of channel talk here for a moment. I made a post a few weeks ago about how I really was growing tired of making these videos, but now that I've introduced more variety, I really don't mind making them as sort of the simpler videos I would do in between painting videos and things like that. For example, I mentioned in that post it would take me hours to finish one of these because I was so bored. This one took me, I believe, 45-50 minutes. I'm just going to be honest with you, these videos don't take very long to make, and I still get to talk about things that I enjoy. So don't worry about that. I'm not doing this just because I'm fed up or anything. I'm doing it because it helps complement my usual catalog and helps keep views up, which helps keep ad revenue up, which lets me do more fun things on the channel. Anyways, I've been Spoons Rattling. I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye.